Hello, fellow solvers. This is Cog with Cog Analytics. Today we're taking a look at Alteryx Designer Desktop version 24.2. This is the newest version released on October 30th, 2024. We'll be diving into the newest features, including customizations, tool updates, new data sources, and more. There are still some bugs that need to be worked out, but overall, this is a great update with many fantastic features. All the information covered here comes from the Alteryx version release notes, which will be linked in the description, so feel free to check that out for more details on what is new. And with that, let's begin. Starting with upgrade considerations. There are some localization issues. While all supported languages are operational, there may be possible translation inconsistencies and some new features are not yet fully translated. Improvements are expected in the 25.1 release. As of 24.1, Python has been upgraded. In 24.2, R has been upgraded to version 4.4.0. And in doing so, the RGeos package was removed. And so in order to ensure that your workflows work properly, it is important that you switch to a supported package if you utilize the RGeos R package in your workflows. Finally, there is a known issue in which macros that utilize the DCM connection interface tool, the connect button, may be missing. Existing configurations should be unaffected, and a patch should soon fix that problem. This brings us into our customization options. The tool container and control container now support multi-line captions. In addition to that, you now have the ability to set custom colors for individual connections as opposed to changing the default for all connections. If you right-click on a particular connection, you can select this new option to change connection color. This brings up the color palette, giving you complete customization and control over what color you want in your connection on the canvas. And when you select OK, you can see that it changes only for the selected connection. As far as tool updates, the add-on marketplace or marketplace add-on window is now out of beta. So you are able to download, install, and update all Alteryx supported data connectors. This is not the complete marketplace. As you can see, they do have the link to the full marketplace and the little button at the bottom of the add-on window. But this does give you a way to install, update, and keep track of many of the Alteryx connectors that you utilize in your workflows. A new tool has been released in 24.2, and that is the rank tool. This provides you with several options for ranking your data, including ordinal ranking, dense ranking, standard, modified competition, and fractional ranking. In the configuration, there is a very similar menu as the one found in the sort tool, which gives you the ability to select fields as well as the ordering of your ranking. In addition, you can group by column, which is very useful. As you can see in the output, each ranking provides you a different way of outputting the data. Ordinal ranking is very similar to the record ID tool. However, it first pre-sorts the data based off of those ranking metrics that you have assigned in the configuration window. Dense ranking, you can see repeats and then continues on from the next rank or the next index. Standard ranking will skip numbers, and then modified competition and fractional all behave differently, giving you complete control over how you want to rank your data. The record ID tool now has the ability to group by columns. So gone are the days where you have to build more complex logic utilizing the multi-row formula tool or tile tool to generate sub-IDs or sub-indexing your data. Now you can simply group by any relevant columns, and with just the record ID tool, you can add sub-indexes. Another great update, the formula editors. So the expression editors in the multi-field formula and multi-row formula tool have been upgraded to match that of the standard formula tool. So you can see here I have my classic blue buttons as well as the colored text and autocomplete. This is very useful. You can see too the specific fields, like the multi-field formula tool has current field, field name, and field type. The multi-row formula tool has row -1, row +1 as well, all for ease of use. This is a fantastic update in my opinion. However, this has not been carried over to all tools with formula or expression editors. The generate rows tool, dynamic rename, dynamic select, and message tool all still have the exact same editors that they've had in prior versions. Hopefully this is something that gets upgraded or updated as well for these tools, but as of right now, this is great progress and a good starting point. The output tool for specifically Excel files and more specifically for .xlsx and .xlsm has a new configuration option, which is suppress output if no records. If this box is checked and your data or your workflow is getting ready or passing no data to the output tools, no file will be generated. This saves you from needless clutter where empty files are being generated and stored. So very useful, very clean way to protect your data, assuming you are using these two output file types. 2-in-1, the crosstab tool now has a checkbox where you can retain special characters in new column names. So traditionally, if you had any non-alphanumeric characters, the crosstab tool would replace them if that was the column header with an underscore. That includes spaces. Now, if this box is checked, as you can see here, we have a Z followed by an exclamation mark. This is in the header column. When we cross-tab that data, you can see that if that box is checked, then the exclamation mark is retained and not converted to an underscore. This is very, very useful. The sorting pattern is exactly the same, so crosstab will sort all the column names in alphabetical order, but the character changing no longer happens when that box is checked. In addition to that, there is a new feature, which is custom tool defaults. So for any tool, there is now a little pencil icon in the bottom left of the configuration pane for that tool, which allows you to save a new default for a particular configuration. And of course, you can restore system default as necessary or as desired. So one of the first things I recommend doing is bringing the crosstab tool into your canvas, checking the retain special characters box because that is set to be unchecked by default, and immediately saving this as the new default. That way you do not need to check this box every time you are utilizing the crosstab tool, and you can get this fantastic functionality out of the box. The JSON parse tool has been powered up with two new options, including unnest JSON and flatten arrays. The unnest JSON field option handles semi-structured data by unnesting one level at a time and creating columns. So we can see what we start off with is a single JSON field, and the output of that tool when unnesting JSON is columns for each name value pair in your JSON data. You can see here we have an array, which brings us to the second option, which is flattening arrays. Again, these both options, as can be seen, are for AMP only. The flatten array configuration will create records for each item of the array, as well as adding a new field which includes the index for those records in the original array. So very useful options in parsing through your JSON data. Not much to show here, but the download tool now supports SSH authentication. So if you have that as part of your framework, the download tool now supports that, and you can utilize it for your purposes. The formula tool has some new functions and new parameters for datetime functions. The first is the URL encode UTF-8 function, which allows you to encode URLs in a standardized format. This is intended to replace the URL encode function, which utilized the UTF-16 non-standard encoding. So you should no longer use this in your workflows. It should be replaced with the URL encode UTF-8 function. Additionally, there is a new option for normalizing your string data, and that is the Unicode normalize function. The format of this function is your input string, as well as the second parameter, which is required, called form. That value can only have 4 possible values: NFC, NFD, NFKC, and NFKD. I will include a link in the description that goes over this function, as well as what each form does, how it affects the output. You can go there to see and read up more about this function. As far as time goes, or datetime types, there are now 2 new parameters, including %lowercase and %Z, which incorporate time zones. So you can see here when this is run, it will take The lowercase z is the difference between UTC time and the machine's time zone, and capital Z gives you the time zone of your machine in string format. Additionally, and this is will become we'll go over this again later on, but date time now gives the ability to modify size. So if you have a requirement to capture higher precision, including fractions of a second, you can now change the size of your date time or time fields to accommodate that. Lastly, as far as tool updates go, the expect equal tool in the developer palette right here now has a one tool example workflow. So Alteryx has released a sample workflow. If you'd like to see that, or if you have need of it, you can see how they utilize the tool here. This moves us to the connection updates. So single store is now an available data source for you to connect to within Alteryx. Additionally, Google Cloud is as well. But in order to connect to Google Cloud, you need to enable the data connection manager first. So if you set up connection without it, you will not see Google Cloud, but with data connection manager enabled, in setting up a connection, Google Cloud should be available to you as a data source. Additionally to that, you have various credentialing changes. Google Workload Identity Federation is now supported for Google BigQuery Bulk Loader. Trusted Identity Propagation for Amazon Redshift is available as a credentialing mechanism. Redshift and Athena v2 ODBC drivers have been certified, and OAuth 2.0 authentication for Amazon S3 tools is also available. Finally, going over some last little tidbits of information. The AMP compatible tools, there is now a tool palette preset available. So if you click this little gear icon in the tool palette section, in presets, there is now AMP compatible, which will select only those tools that are AMP compatible for you to utilize. The designer alerts look beautiful now. So if I run my workflow, you can see this nice little UI display that pops up indicating that I have an error in my workflow. This can be set in the user settings by going to notifications. You can check or uncheck this box as you desire. I'll move this here to see the next, that you can also override ODBC timeouts. So if you need to connect to a particularly slow data source and the default 15 seconds is too slow for you, if you go to general, the very bottom, you can override ODBC connection timeout by checking this box and changing the timeout time frame here. Dark mode is more done, but it is still not done. The configuration pane is not completed, so it is still bright white, and I do not recommend utilizing it unless you want to go blind. There are new keyboard shortcuts. This is something I greatly appreciate. I am a huge fan of keyboard shortcuts and welcome every single one that gets added. I am, again, big fan, looking forward to these. Glad they're coming out. You, again, check the description below for the link to the release notes. You can see all of the keyboard shortcuts that got added in 24.2. Debug mode is now supported with all workflows. That includes workflows with control containers. That did not used to work, but as of 24.2, that does now work for any and all workflows. Additionally, you can now cancel running workflows or select the cancel running workflow on error. That is a runtime setting. If you click on the canvas, that brings up workflow configuration. In runtime, you can now cancel running workflows on error with AMP engine enabled. This is a new feature and very handy if you want your workflow to stop running anytime an error is thrown. Additionally, libssh2 has been upgraded, OpenSSL has been upgraded, Poplar has been upgraded, which may result in minor changes to the PDF to text output, and the Intelligence Suite version, a new version of the Intelligence Suite has been released as well. A few fixes worth mentioning, there are many more. Finance PMT function, whenever the rate was 0, it used to result in a null payment. That has been patched. This is the second fix here. The union tool works with disabled connections, is one that I'm quite pleased with. Wanted to showcase here. So it used to be if I deactivated this particular input, there would be no output from this union tool whatsoever. But now that has been patched such that if I check the output here, you can see that it's getting the output from this top input tool and the bottom text input tool without breaking. tools inside of non-active control containers will no longer run. The fact that they were still running has been fixed. Summarize tool used to produce different values for median whenever incoming data was sorted versus not sorted. That has also been fixed. And the 2024.1 formula tool configuration did not allow users, as we mentioned and showcased in the formula tool, to adjust the size of date time and time to contain precision. But that is now fixed and available to you. There are many more fixes that have been implemented in this new update. And there are also many known issues that you can, again, in the description below, go to the release notes and read up for yourself if you are interested. Again, I think overall this is a great update. A lot of very useful features. I am very excited to get to building workflows. I've already built a number of workflows using the updates from 24.2, and they are quite handy. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment if you've used 24.2. What are your thoughts? Have you built any cool workflows using the new updates and new features? Have you had any struggles either? Or do you have any questions in general with workflows? Please post them in the comments below. I'd love to see and read them and would be happy to answer any questions you guys have. As always, hope this helps and happy solving.